want to know. This is exactly the same pattern with Holly Gregg in Aberdeen. It's the same pattern with the lady in South Wales whose daughter has still not been returned to her. If you said to me, Brian, you were a naval officer, every naval officer was an upstanding, honest person, I would laugh. I would absolutely laugh. But the evidence, if you had come to Bristol about a month ago, I did a talk about child snatching by the state.
But Brian, with all due respect, you're picking out cases. I can't argue because these are complicated scenarios.
They're not complicated at all.
Into that.
No, but
we know that the cases of taking
right.
children away, there are children who are not
Yes.
removed who die
Yes.
under appalling conditions.
Yes.
And once again,
Yep.
everybody condemns the system because
Yep.
they die.
Yes.
And when they're taken away, there are occasions when one could question whether...
Not occasions. We are seeing large... No, we're not talking isolated. We are absolutely not talking isolated cases.
I'm not prepared to accept that they're not isolated cases. They are cases...
On what is your evidence? I'm going to stick with this.
I'm not getting into that. You can have that view.
No, I haven't got a view. I am presenting evidence. Just a moment, if I may.
Continue with the view.
I am not presenting a view. I am not so foolish that I stand up on stage and am recorded saying the things I say without knowing that everything I'm talking about I can prove. And something that has been absolutely shocking to understand from the fact that the government introduced a regime of secret courts in which perjury is committed, paedophile judges are sitting, documentation is interfered with, court transcripts are rewritten, and it is happening on a phenomenal scale. It is not an accident that the government introduced a system of targets for adoption, and based on the number of children that were taken for adoption, city authorities and local councils have raked in millions of pounds in some cases. This is not an accident. This is a deliberate programme. I do not have a view. I deal in evidence. And if you would like to come and sit with me in Plymouth, because I cannot travel all around the country to sit with each individual, if you like to come with me in Plymouth, I will show you the first case that opened my eyes. And when you see the documentation and you put the case together, you will see that a doctor worked in conjunction with social services to take a sick girl away from the mother by trying to brand the mother as ill with Munchausen by proxy. And if you think... Well, if you want to... If you... No, there isn't. It's been discredited. If you want to live in the bubble you're in, which is that we live in a normal society, please continue to live in it. Okay? But what I say to you is I deal in evidence. And that is why, at the moment, I have stood up and taken Common Purpose apart, including warning of the paedophile penetration in that organisation, because we have the evidence. And when we follow the trail through, time and time again, no MP will take action. None of them. None of them. When you sit in a court and see a mother denied 4 local councillors as her witnesses to say under oath that their council broke the law in that there was no documentation in place to justify taking a girl from her mother, not in this country, in America. And when you read one of the transcripts where the judge actually says in the transcript that when the girl was taken, as far as he could see, the mother had not broken the law. This is evidence. And when you talk to the mothers and fathers, because this is across both sexes, they will tell you stories where there's a template, how social services lied. I was talking a few nights ago to a gentleman who's in Ireland. Why is he in Ireland? Because he ran away to try and protect his 2 sons. Why was he trying to protect his sons? Because his wife went into hospital. And when she was in hospital, the treatment was so appalling they nearly killed her, and in fact they made her blind. So he started a series, quite rightly, of complaints against the local health authority. What happened? Social services turned up on his doorstep. And over a period of months, stretching into years, a case was engineered that his children should be taken away from him. He eventually ran away with his wife to Ireland, and those children have been taken away from him. I get a call from a lady near Cork. So she's Irish. And she tells a similar story of children being taken away. And she said, Brian, I'm there, and I'm with the social services people, and they're just lying. Ladies in Cornwall, ladies in Glasgow, ladies in Newcastle. And there is a pattern. And the pattern is that children are being deliberately taken away from their families. Now, one of the things that I learnt in the Navy, something I've never forgotten, is a little film watching a goat die from nerve agent. That's a fun occupation for a morning. And what it taught me is there are people out there who are unbelievably evil. They are so evil that you and I can't comprehend because we can't even think like it. But because we can't think like it doesn't mean these people don't exist. After one of the talks, 2 policemen came up to me. This was in Heathrow. Sorry, 1 policeman and his colleague who was not a policeman. And he said, Brian, I want to tell you something. He said, you mentioned children. He said, a few months ago, I spent several months with a group of colleagues investigating child trafficking, child prostitution, paedophilia in London. It was obvious to us that there were a number of very high-level gangs. We finished the investigation, we produced a brilliant report, we put the mechanism by which this lot could be dismantled. It was given to our superior officer. 3 weeks later, we were told to drop the case. Are you familiar with Operation Ore? Operation Ore was a big paedophile investigation following the release of about 4,500 names by the American police of paedophiles operating in this country. An investigation started. It began to identify people up the social ladder. A few of the little minions went to court. It began to look at people who were MPs, editors of major newspapers, lords, judges, and then all of a sudden Mr. Blair shut the whole inquiry down. That's fact. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Well, I know why he did it. Because he's got something to hide for himself or his colleagues. I could give you, and in fact on the end of March at AV4, I am going to be talking about confronting evil, which is what we are talking about, and it's very difficult because you don't want to hear some of the subjects that I get told and have to talk about. Do you remember Jersey? And they said, oh, well, there's no problem because we've only found a few milk teeth. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What they didn't tell you is that they enjoy knocking the children's teeth out so they don't hurt the men when they're sucking them.
Oh,